Transmission live with this beat called decadence. Catching the vibe and completing all relevance. Chopping up the record, synchronized in a drum machine. Feeling damn good, pen and pad for the rhyming spree. Do it for the love, that's how I show my spirit. One day mic in hand, hoping people hear it. Spinning vinyl plates in the late morning hours. Pen and pad to state the problems that may tower. Hip hop to the bone and the poems are wrote illegibly. The beats back by tape as the smooths move steadily. Just like the globe and the conscience of the people. Things come to an end like the stylus of the needle. I don't stop. Some people tend to ask me why. I don't stop, I let the rhyme stack to the sky. Some people get distracted by the decadence. Lost souls caught up in their own relevance. I don't stop. Some people tend to ask me why. I don't stop, I let the rhyme stack.
Corey Powell.
Corey, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Austin, Texas.
You been here your whole life?
Pretty much, the majority.
Let's talk about your childhood.
Okay.
So I know your mom's here. Let's talk about what kind of a kid you were.
Okay. I was, my mom put me through Montessori school. My memories of Montessori school, during recess, kids were kicking around a soccer ball, so I got into soccer. So the majority of my life has been dedicated to being a soccer player. Started in the leagues in San Antonio. When we moved to Austin, there was a team called Flamenco, where I met my best friend Austin. My mom and his dad met, got married. Both me and Austin got on the Austin Flyers, which was a Division I soccer team. So I would have practice 3 times a week. And Montessori school, got into playing violin, then moved up to viola. And yeah.
So what kind of childhood do you think you had? Were you a happy child?
Very structured. I mean, my parents got divorced, so I did want to make it in soccer to try to support my mom, although, you know, she's very self-reliant, self-sufficient. But she was establishing the whole soccer mom aesthetic before soccer mom became a term, so.
So I'm going to talk about the divorce. I don't know if it's weird. I mean, your mom's probably totally cool, right? Talk about all this stuff.
Yeah, that's fine.
Should we talk about when did your parents get divorced?
My parents got divorced, I think, when I was around 8 years old. I think around then.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger brother.
Okay. So when your parents got divorced, how did they tell you? Do you remember that time?
No, I don't really remember.
Okay.
It was very vague. They got separated, and well, they separated during a move, and then later it was a divorce. So yeah, the details are really hazy.
Do you have a lot of memory of your dad?
My memory of my dad, he was an aspiring comedian. He was also a musician, so there was a drum set. My younger brother used to climb up on the drum throne, and he would hold the drumsticks like this, and he would beat on it, and I would grab the microphone and do Michael Jackson covers. And so I remember that. Actually, my dad had a stand-up show in San Antonio, and the photo shoot for their comedy special, I was photographs for it. So I was like standing, and then it was him and his friend, and they were doing this, and it was pretty silly. And I do remember vaguely, he wrote a couple of jokes for me, and I was gonna do his intro at a club, and so I just remember all these people, and I was too scared to get on stage. But I don't really remember too much about.
How old were you when you were about to do these jokes?
I was really young. I was too. I don't really remember.
Do you remember the jokes?
I don't remember the jokes at all. No, not at all. I wish I did.
What do you do? Like open mic, or was he? He's a little better.
No, he was an established comedian. He actually got a big following in San Antonio. It got to a point where they were like, you need to go to a bigger market. So we ended up moving to California, and that's why my family moved out there. And then there was a lot of struggling that happened, and So we had to come back to Austin, and then things didn't kind of pan out. Things were really rocky, but yeah.
So is your dad still a comedian?
No, he's a Christian musician. He actually does Hawaiian Christian music, and he's like kind of the only artist in that field. So he's got, he's recently did a tour in Europe, and he's doing really well for himself. I talked to him last night. He's building a studio, or actually he's revamping his studio. But yeah, he's been doing music a long time. I mean, he's still funny. I actually last night talked to him, and I was like, "Dad, do you have any old tapes of your old comedy routines?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, can you send them to me?" And I was like, "You know what? Never mind. I'm just going to come to California. I'm going to digitize them myself." So
you haven't heard any of your dad's acts?
No, I haven't heard. I don't know any. The only thing I do remember, actually, I was telling my friend at work this. My grandmother ended up building like a giant elephant head for him, and so she had like a wire, and she ended up like fabricating this huge like pink and blue head. It was a giant elephant. He had an Elephant Man routine, but it was like an elephant head. Yeah. So anyway, I do remember my grandma in the kitchen making like this huge. It was huge. It was like this big, and that's all I really remember. But
see, I'm really intrigued by this act now.
I'm gonna get his stuff. Like I told him, like I'm coming. I'm gonna digitize it. He's like, oh, it's in the garage. It's in the. No, he has like a shed in the back. He was like, it's in a box in the shed. I was like, dude, put it in the house. Put it somewhere safe.
Yeah, I wonder if he can still do that routine.
I don't know. I don't even know. I have no idea what's on there. But I was like, dude, you need to put that on SoundCloud. You need to put that on YouTube, something. But he's into his music. So.
Can you say his name?
My dad's name is Gerard. My last name is Powell. Gerard Powell. So.
Is any of his Christian Hawaiian music on YouTube or anything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's under Gerard Powell. He has a video on YouTube. Excuse me. The song's called "Island Girl." But if you Google Gerard Powell music, it'll come right up.
See, when you say Hawaiian Christian, is it kind of like the old kind of Elvis kind of Hawaiian kind of music?
It's he plays the ukulele, so it's like it's Christian. It's how would you explain it? Like kind of Christian spirituals with like a Hawaiian kind of a twist. So there's a lot of like, I mean, like I said, he plays ukulele, but there's like steel drum and there's a lot of prayer and stuff like that. So I think the like proceeds of his album sales also goes to a nonprofit to help kids. So he gets like half of the money, and then the rest goes to charities. So,
Did you try to be a comedian too?
I've made up several jokes. I can tell them to you if you want.
Is it a routine or like a joke?
I don't have a routine. I have several jokes. What was the? So I got one. Let me see. What would be? So I got one about William Shatner. So the joke is, so William Shatner, he's in acting, and he was going through a hard time in his life. And so basically, he was getting into things to diversify his money. So one of the things that he did was, he ended up buying a lumberyard, for example. Do you remember the name of it?
I'm trying to follow the joke. No. So William Shatner bought a lumberyard.
Oh yeah, one of the things. Do you know the name of it? Captain's Log.
Oh, you're setting me up. I get it.
Yeah, I was setting you up. Yeah.
How many more do you got?
How do kittens like their steak cooked?
How?
Where?
Oh. That's original?
These are all unfortunately original. I got one for the millennial. Well, not really. What's the loudest vegetable?
What?
Bell peppers.
Oh,
but if you ask a millennial, you know what they're gonna say?
What?
Turn up.
Huh.
Yeah. They're all really bad jokes. Kind of borderline bad.
They're like dad jokes.
Yeah, they're like dad jokes. But I mean, I made these up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, they're original. That's cool.
I have a dirty one. You can edit this out. Do you want to hear the dirty one?
Yeah, it's the other dirty one. You can use profanity too if you want.
All right. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was going through a rough time in his life as well. So he would work in a clinic, like for STDs, stuff like that. And then at night he would do porn or kind of racy kind of racy kind of movies. So he saw this woman that he really liked, and he walked up to her, and he noticed like there was this guy that was gonna, that this guy was talking to her, and he recognized the guy from earlier, and he ended up having an issue. So he tapped the girl on the shoulder, and he was like, "Come with me if you want to leave."
I got the come part. Was it
Come with me if you want to leave, live. I can't really do Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, you doing the accent? No,
Yeah. Come with me if you want to live. Okay. All right. Anyway.
Okay. So two of your jokes are set up with celebrities and fantasy situations.
It just comes out of the air. Yeah. I'm not a comedian.
So anyway, you tried to not try. You played a lot of soccer as a kid.
Yeah, I actually played Division I soccer for the Flyers. Guest played in a tournament in Arizona. There's a team there from Houston. Met the coach. The guy from Houston was like, we're looking for a goalkeeper. Their goalkeeper was moving, so I ended up playing soccer in Houston. So my schedule was during the week when I was in high school, twice a week we would drive up to Houston. So I would either drive to Houston or do homework on the way up, or vice versa. And that team, we ended up winning nationals. So I won nationals when I was 17. I think '94 we got the title. So. Oh,
when you say Division I, that means college, right? University.
Division I soccer is so there's select soccer. So you have Red League, which is like YMCA, which is not competitive. Then you have Blue League, which is a little bit more competitive, and then there was something called Gold League, which was all select. The Gold League teams would do tournaments in the U.S., like California, wherever the U.S., and travel and try to win state and stuff like that. And so I was blessed to be in a position. Also was we had ODP, which is Olympic development. So I got on the state team, which is how to get on the national team. And I think the farthest that I got in that was like regional pool or camp or something. I almost made like the regional pool, but I did play professional as a 19-year-old for a year. I played for the American Pumas. We got to tour. We got to play in Mexico. They took us to Peru. And then out of that experience, I got to guest play with Cali Columbia, which is a Division I team in Colombia. And then, I got offered some full scholarships and yada, yada, yada. But by that time, I was kind of burnt out with the whole soccer thing. So.
Why would you be burned out by soccer? It seems like you were...
When I was in high school, I partied a lot. So I just got into a lot of partying. And soccer, at that time, there was no professional league in the States. And to play, you would have to go to either overseas into Europe or South America. There was no infrastructure. You couldn't really make a living. There wasn't really... The U.S. national team wasn't really doing that well when I was growing up as a kid. Soccer wasn't very big in this country. I was part of a project called Project 2010. I mean, you can Google it, but it was American-born players that they wanted just to play soccer. So I never got into baseball or basketball or football. Like my friends were into basketball, but whenever I went and played with them, I would be doing soccer stuff. Like they'd throw the ball and I'd shoulder it, or silly stuff, but I never played anything else but soccer. Actually, the way that I got into CrossFit was in my 30s. I was going to try out again for the San Antonio Scorpions. So I was doing training at the downtown CrossFit. Ended up injuring my back, so that's why I'm at this location, kind of trying to get back into shape. So.
Let me talk about the partying in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You're mentioning it like there's a problem or it came to a head.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you started partying at what age? How do you describe partying? Whatever you meant by that.
I mean, just like high school partying, just drinking, just being silly, being a silly kid.
When did you start drinking?
When did I start drinking?
Yeah.
I mean, off and on, like maybe 16, something like that.
So when you were drinking in high school, you felt like you kind of blew off a lot of stuff?
No, I was into soccer. Like I was I was doing that thing. I never got really bad until I dropped out of college as far as like usage. I am a recovering addict. I've been sober working on 12 years, but the drugs and alcohol didn't get bad until I dropped out of college, and so.
Yeah, you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I dropped
So,
out of.
Let's talk about when you were in high school. Was it becoming a problem with your?
No, it was,
academics or anything like
I mean, whenever you're using like alcohol and stuff like that, you know, especially if you're not 21, I mean, it's not a good thing. But
were you? How are you getting? Sorry if this is too personal or whatever, but like your friends would. I remember when I was a kid, we would sometimes ask like somebody hanging out by the gas station and go buy some booze and stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah. How would you guys kind of score your?
we would go to the corner store and just boost it. Like, you know, the first thing that, you know, it was Mad Dog 2020. I saw the bottle and it had like fruit on it. So I was like, oh, this is going to taste good. My thing used to be Boone's because it was like a flavorful alcohol. But I mean, I would just put it in my jacket and walk out. It's not like how it is today where there's like cameras everywhere and, you know, but. And then also too, we would just buy it. I mean, the people at the counter didn't really care; they didn't ID us. So, but I mean, I remember the first time the Mad Dog 2020 was. We ended up just pocketing it, drinking it, vomiting profusely, and regretting every minute of it. And that's why nobody drinks Mad Dog, because it's a horrible, horrible thing.
I think Boone's is it's pretty tasty.
Boone's was good. Yeah, I liked the
like a wine
Boone's.
cooler or something.
I remember that was like a thing that I liked, and. Then I drank a lot of 40s because I listened to rap music, and NWA and Dr. Dre was all about 40s. I think out of all the 40s, the best one was, I started off with the Old English 800, but the Mickey's was the best. So and plus it had a bumblebee on it, so, you know.
So what college did you go to?
I went to San Jacinto Junior College on a full scholarship. It was a junior NA double whatever. What is it? NACP? What is it? NAACP? Is that right? Or no? That's
NAACP is the.
What is it?
So yeah. So
and then I went to Howard University in DC, and I was gonna play on their team, but I had the bad experiences. I had a big game in Mexico, and I played horribly, and it was on television, and I was really embarrassed and depressed. My girlfriend was back at the States, and I was burned out by then.
You said you were a goalkeeper?
I was a goalkeeper.
Does that mean you let a lot of goals by that day?
In that game, yeah. Well, no, it's not that I let goals in. They were really soft goals. I was nervous during the whole first half, and the goals that they scored were like ridiculously easy. Like I just wasn't, like my head was everywhere else but the game. And
how many scores did you allow?
Yeah, we lost 4-0, which in soccer is a blowout. Right. But the goals were really soft. I did end up saving a penalty kick. I stood him up. He messed up on the penalty kick, so I saved that and I had another save. But the whole trip back from Mexico, like my team wasn't talking to me, and it was really depressing. Like I had a bad game. I wasn't consoled by the coach. The team stopped talking to me. One of the players on the team had an indoor game, and I was playing a couple of years up. So all the players were like, I think 3 or 4 years older than me. We were playing a mids league team, and this guy pulled my jersey, like ripped my shirt off, and started to fight me. And then this guy intervened. So he was like a good friend of mine. I looked up to him. And so he was on that pro team, and he was even like not talking to me. So that was like super detrimental, like shock. But I did grow up a lot, you know, in that situation. But yeah, it took several years to get over it.
Did you quit right then and there, or did you play the rest
pretty
of the season?
much. Like mentally, I was out. You know what I mean? Like I just wasn't. Like, being a goalkeeper, it's all about confidence. Like being able to go and do the right thing in heavy pressure situations. And so like whenever that happened, my confidence was gone. You know what I mean?
Did they pull you off the starting lineup?
Yeah, it wasn't really an issue of starting lineup. That was the game that we were in Mexico for that situation. We did go to we did end up going to practice with Monterey, like the Monterey side. So I still was on the team, and I still got games, but I was pretty much out of it after that one game. And we played the Tigres in the Tigres Stadium. So
was that your freshman year?
No, this is professional.
Okay.
Yeah, this is before I went to college. Before I went to Howard. Yeah, okay. I was like 18, 19 years old.
Did you play in the Howard team?
I went to play for Howard. I never. When I ended up getting to DC, I was really depressed. I didn't know anybody. I remember getting my student ID, and I was all crying and stuff. And I ended up just sleeping, and I ended up getting in with the wrong crowd. And I mean, I still went to class. My first semester I got like A's and B's. I did really well in school, but the second, not so much. And messing around with girls and, cheating on my girlfriend and a bunch of stuff I shouldn't have been doing. And so I ended up just dropping out.
You dropped out your freshman year?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Freshman year. Barely made it through the freshman year.
Was that bad crowd other students or just people in DC?
Yeah, it was students. Like, they were studying and partying, and I was just partying. You know what I mean?
Why'd you choose to go to Howard? Were you living in Austin and then you chose?
No, I didn't choose to go to Howard at all. I was a soccer player. My mom was calling colleges and got me into Howard. So as soon as I got off the road playing pro, I was being shipped off to Howard to go play. So I wasn't really I never really was like somebody that was really interested in school. I just wanted to play pro.
So did you have a scholarship at Howard?
I was going to I was going to be like a walk-on or something, like a red flag or something. I don't even know the details, to be honest with you.
But you were living in Austin, and then you went to Howard, right?
Yeah, I was living in Austin. The pro team was in San Antonio, and then I went to DC for like a year.
So you brought up your girlfriend. You cheated on her. You brought that up, I guess, because you're illustrating. There's a lot of you dealt with a lot of kind of childhood drama, that kind of thing, or you brought it up?
Well, I mean, you can definitely put it that way. So yeah.
But are you bringing up I was kind of a bad person? I was kind of
I was a scoundrel. Like Han Solo, scoundrel. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Before we get past when you were younger, your childhood, was there anything, kind of stories back when you were a kid, like people you remember or things that happened that you kind of had an effect on your life?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people that influenced me. There was a lot of people that I definitely should give kudos to. Luis Dabo was a coach out of Arizona that put me under his wing, got me a lot of opportunities, stuck his neck out for me. Milan Davidan was the Yugoslavian international that trained me and gave me the skills that I have. And, me and my father weren't really communicating, so I looked at Luis and Milan as both father figures. Joe Waxman, which was a lawyer that brought Milan to the States. And, I mean, John Michael was a player that was
How about just little moments?
Little moments, like, what do you mean?
Like something that happened, maybe one day you're in class, somebody talked to you, or something that you remember that might have changed your perspective on things, that might have straightened you out or not straightened you out. I don't know if you have any stories and thoughts about that. You know what I mean, though? Like maybe one day you went to class, this happened, you were proud about something, or you were embarrassed about something, or something about your childhood where something kind of switched gears for a minute and switched it back. I don't know if you have it. That was my question.
When when we won nationals, that was dope, man. That was, as long as that club is in I'm gonna be in the anvils of their history. I mean, I don't know. Not really. Not anything that sticks out right now.
It's okay. Okay, so after you dropped out from Howard, what did you do next?
I spent 3 years working on music. I put on the thinking cap and tried to figure out how to navigate through the music scene at that moment in time. I ended up building a small studio and learning how to kind of produce my own music. But then and at the time I was a coach for the River City Rangers, so I saved a little money, ended up buying some beats, and then started getting studio time for my premiere album or debut album.
How old are you?
Huh?
How old are you?
I don't remember.
You don't know how old you? No, how old are you right now?
Oh, how old am I right now? I'm
Yeah.
40. Yeah, I
You're
just turned 40 this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after college, you were working on your music.
Mm-hmm.
When did you? Let's back it up a little bit. Wasn't sure how old you were. So you said you're 12 years sober?
I'm working on year 12. July 1st is 12 years.
So I guess we've been talking about a little bit about drinking. You are sober, so as the years went by, was your drinking getting worse? Or?
Yeah, I was in a band called String Theory, and then later String Theory turned into Spin Alley. But when I was working on my record and just being a musician, I would party all the time. Like I was drunk like 7 days a week and just being silly. And it just got bad, you know. Like when I was a kid, like I was always in really good shape, but the drinking and like I used to smoke cigarettes. Excuse me. Sorry. So drinking and other stuff, like I gained a lot of weight. I just wasn't. It was like a complete flip side from when I was an active athlete. So, I mean, I'm blessed to be in a situation where I'm sober, and I'm blessed to be where I'm at right now. So.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about it, I'm curious about. So I drink a lot, right? I drink probably every day.
Mm-hmm.
But so you're 40. So you've been drinking since I don't know, probably since you're.
Yeah, like off and
14.
on as
Yeah.
a teen.
But then when did you, so there's a point where you decided to stop drinking, right? You were maybe, what's the math, 28?
Yeah, about 28, that sounds right.
So what's happening in the years coming up to 28 where you're like, maybe it's time to stop drinking?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at my mom, but the thing is, there was I'll just say a personal tragedy. There's actually, you know, some people know about it, but there was a personal tragedy in my family involving somebody that I loved and or that I love, and to show them that sobriety is possible, I decided to become sober. And so I'm just, you know, for the first few years I was like, I'm going to be sober for that person, and then decided to keep up with the sobriety. So now it's something that I have ownership in. It's something that I own.
You're making it sound kind of easy. Was it easy?
I mean, it was to the point where like it wasn't like a social thing. Like I already pretty much burned all the bridges with my friends. So I was just kind of like that, you know, depressed, drunk addict that was, you know, I mean, I was around people that were really abusive. So, you know, the term is rock bottom. I hit rock bottom. So there was only, you know, it's not like I didn't have a lot of societal pressures to stay drinking. Like, you know, everything was pretty much gone. So
I heard two things. I heard you were motivated by this family member, and then but you also said you hit rock bottom. So that sounds like two different things to me, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was like clinically depressed. Like it's bad. Like it's pretty dark. it's pretty dark.
You not want to get into it?
But so like, you know, I was hospitalized for over drinking this one time, and yeah, I was in a sad place. I was in a bad place, And it's not like I had, like there was times in my youth where I was like, you know, you need to get your stuff together so you can, you know, play the soccer and maybe make pro and blah, 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 blah. So like getting sober when I didn't have that carrot of possible professional soccer wasn't there. But, you know, I mean, if you're an athlete and you're disciplined, then you have the ability to pretty much, I mean, if you know, like, you can accomplish anything, you know, you can, you know what I mean? Like a lot of, like, sports or the soccer thing was, a lot of it was envisioning and then executing. So it was just like, okay, I'm a drunk, I need to become sober. So I just had the goal and executed. So for me, it was kind of easy. Not at the time, it definitely wasn't easy. I mean, quitting cigarettes was very difficult, you know. I mean, I didn't smoke for that long, you know what I mean? I wasn't really, like I have friends that, you know, started smoking in middle school, like, you know, so anyway.
So you hit rock bottom, and you probably had, I'm just gonna guess, that moment of clarity when you thought about the family member, and that kind of gave you the motivation.
That was definitely the motivation, right.
And you did that on your own? You got sober on your own?
I did it on my own. I didn't go to AA or anything like that. I had a couple of people that had AA meetings, and I went in support of them, but like I never went on my own. So I did go to a meeting though when I was 7 years sober, and they ended up giving me like a coin or something, because they were like, they were like, you know, they were giving me kudos. They're like, man, you know, congratulations, and how did you do that, and blah blah blah. But you know, like I said, I'm blessed, dude. I'm blessed.
So let's talk about the time after Howard. You're getting into music. You're trying to, I guess, what kind of musician are you? How would you describe it?
As of right now, I'm I would say, beat maker, hip hop artist. Like I'm getting really into like the nuts and bolts of music. I used to do sample based hip hop, so I would like the traditional, go to record shops, buy records, vinyl records. I own like a drum machine kind of a thing where you sample bits and pieces of records and manipulate it, resequence it. So you know, it's called chopping up records. So I used to chop up records, and now I'm getting into writing my own music. So I have an album coming out called Good Problems in February, and that's going to be like my last sample-based album. And then I have an album out now called Odd Augmentation Incorporated, which is an album that my friend Cell produced, and he chops up records and does traditional. There's like, you know, DJ scratching and all that stuff. But
so you do your own beats, and you do.
Now I do my own music. I ended up going to the Art Institute for a little bit, so I know how to do like, you know, Pro Tools, and I know how to do audio production and all the you know, bells and whistles of that kind of stuff. I am probably going to be going to like a professional studio to record the album, but like I'll do all the pre-production myself, and you know, of course, writing the music myself. But
have you ever so you just recently kind of laid down something?
Yeah, the Good Problems album was actually something that I made. So a long time ago, about like I've been out of music for quite a bit of time, as far as like performing and being in the public eye. There was a party where I got into a fight with an individual, I'll say, to say the least. And so after that, I was kind of disenchanted with music or doing it, but I kept making music. You know what I mean? Like
I kind of want you to slow down that. So you were into music. You went to a party. You had a fight. Let's slow that party.
I had a show at a pizza place called The Parlor. I'm sure you're familiar with The Parlor. At the after party, somebody ended up dropping the N-bomb on me. And so I was like, what? He got up, I got up. He started walking outside, I started walking outside. He started walking across the street to his car. I was like, that's right. Insert expletive. He ends up pulling out a shotgun on me and my friends. So after that, I was like, nah, I'm not really, I'm not about like violence. Like I make hip hop, I don't make gangster rap. I'm not like, so I didn't, so I was just like, you know what, peace, done. But I kept making music on my own. So that's where Good Problems comes from. It's kind of,
well, let me understand that situation a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So you do a show at the Parlor, you have an after party.
It's not my after party. It was like some
somebody
friends of mine, yeah.
Somebody has words with you and you get in a fight, he pulls a shotgun.
I was attempting to fight. Like my definition of fighting is like, hands, not pulling guns out on people.
But is that story saying you're assuming that kind of lifestyle or that environment, was always going to be like that? Why?
Well, the thing is, like, you have to take into account that during this time I was sober and in the music industry. So, like, I'm not like, smoking out with people and drinking with people. And so it was just kind of like trying to find a reason to be in, you know what I mean? So it was just like, at the time, like Austin right now is a totally different place. It used to be a very cool vibe, kind of a culture, kind of a cordial kind of a culture, but it was definitely, the city was changing, and it was, to me, getting more violent, and it just kind of, how stupid would it have been if that was like, foreshadowing? If this guy pulls out a gun, but then I'm still involved, and then somebody else pulls out a gun, like how dumb would I have been to been staying in that situation? So,
I guess because I don't know anything about that environment. I guess
it's not like that though.
Yeah. I'm wondering why you didn't just blow it off, and unless you're saying it's like that all the time.
Yeah, it was like a violent situation. It could have been worse. And I got a girlfriend. I was in a band. We were signed. And then that ended up ending, so I put out the Odd Augmentation Project. And, things just, life just started to happen, and I just wasn't like, Austin doesn't really have a hip-hop scene. It does, but it's not like a situation where, there's a lot of gatekeepers, so it's kind of hard to, at the time. It's a lot better now, but, I don't know. I'm not really... I only did a few shows under the solo stuff, so I couldn't really speak on it.
So what band were you in?
I was in a band called Spin Alley.
And what was your part in that band?
I was the rapper. I was like one of the lead men. There was two vocalists, bass, guitar, and drums, and we were pretty big in this region, in the U.S. region, and we were signed to a label out of New England called Rat Pack Records. And it was a good situation, but like it's the music, it's like a marriage. The marriage was a little off kilter, but
the marriage between who? The label and you, or you?
No, like if you're in a band with people, it's like a marriage. Like everybody's, you're in tight quarters with dudes for a long period of time, and I'm cool with everybody from the band, like. We're still like really good friends, but it just wasn't a safe environment for everybody. You know what I mean?
So you're saying safe? What made it not safe?
It's rock and roll, man. Like drugs, alcohol.
So you
I didn't want anybody overdosing and dying in car crashes or nothing like that. You know what I mean?
Well, let me understand. So this is a band that was signed.
Yeah, we were signed.
But you're saying that you left this situation because you didn't want to be around that kind of stuff? Well,
it was rocky. It was tumultuous in the band. We left our management, and so like when management was no longer involved, we were like working with like different people. It was it was, you know, like it was a situation where it wasn't a healthy environment. We weren't on the same page, and we were all good friends, and it seemed like everybody was on their last leg.
So not knowing much about the music industry, you said you guys were signed. Did you put something out, or do they sometimes sign people?
We put out an album. I mean, or we have a video on YouTube, but I don't really know the details as far as like what happened to the record. We ended up recording like a really nice album, but I think the only remnants of the album is the song on YouTube. But as far as the other details, as far as the record, I don't know. I don't know where the records are. I don't know where the units are. I don't know.
Right. Do you remember that deal? Were you not involved in the signing of the deal? Like sometimes, I don't know. I'm just from what I.
Yeah. No.
Did they sign you to like a?
Yeah. No. We it was like we finished out the deal. Like I was friends with the label owner, and you know we talked, and you know all that stuff, all the deal stuff. You know, we filled out our contract. We fulfilled our contract, and that's all good. Like the business end was all straight. It was just the members of the band, like we weren't on the same page.
But you finished an album. Did they not try to promote it? Do you not remember that?
No, we promoted it for sure. Yeah.
Was it in stores, and you just don't remember it's
it's in some stores. Like I know we put some stuff on consignment. You know, you can get you know. Yeah.
Do you remember it?
But as far as like when the band ended, like I don't think it's available anymore. I know that we pressed up 1,000 copies. I know that we didn't sell all of them, so there's still copies out there if you can get your hands on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a collector's item, but.
Do you have a copy? Did you digitize it?
I gave my copy to my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
I mean, I can always, you know, like I said, I'm friends with everybody in the band, so if I can call Ian or Bo or Aaron and be like, yo, can I get a copy? But
I guess I'm curious of why you're not more romantic about it. Like, oh, that was a time when we got signed, but you're more like, that was just like a bad time.
No, it wasn't a bad time per se. The end of it was bad, so I have like feelings on it. But like, no, dude, that time was amazing, man.
When the time I kind of fight you got with your bandmates that kind of.
Yeah, we didn't we didn't really fight. It was just like I ended up making the decision to call it quits because it seemed like everybody in the band was miserable. So I was just like, because I was always, you know, I mean, you could talk to our really really heavy supporter fans. They know how much energy and work and passion that I put into the project. I wouldn't have ended that if it wasn't, I think, in the best interest of everybody. So
I'm trying to.
I'm sorry. 1 second. I can't read that.
It's fine.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
So another thing. Like I was on tour and with the band, and I ended up after all the gigs having to be the designated driver. So I would have to drive like 6-7 hours after performing, and our shows were like, you know, I was jumping around. Like we were hip hop, screamo, metal. So our shows were like really high energy. So having to, you know, do the driving after the gigs, and nobody else could take responsibility because everybody was messed up. Like we had a good time. Some people had more of a good time, you know, but I was sober in the band, so like I had to take a lot of responsibility. So I mean,
you drank a lot in your life, being around
when I was younger.
Yeah, well, I guess I mean like when I have friends that don't drink and then they're around me that drink, or vice versa, it's not that fun. Do you find it like not that fun to be around?
It wasn't that fun, man. I mean, like I wanted them to have a good time, but you know, when it gets to a point where you could die, you know, when they were making decisions where death is a possibility, like I didn't want it to, like we were getting really big, and when certain bands get big and there's a lot of drugs and alcohol and crazy girls and like, you know, it just got dangerous, man.
What's the dangerous part? Drunk driving, overdosing,
Yeah.
getting in fights?
Yes,
All
yes,
that?
yes.
So how,
Check,
yeah.
check, yeah.
So how old were you when you were in this band? Just trying to figure out a timeline.
Damn. How old was I in Spin Alley? Like,
Ballpark.
Because like the sobriety started when me and Bo were doing we were gonna do a year of sobriety, so that was like at the beginning. So I think 28, around 28. Because I got sober when I was 28, and I was doing sobriety with Bo, and then me and Bo started Spin Alley with Aaron and Ian, and so yeah, man.
So what happens after this band?
I wish Justin Sadowski didn't quit. Anyway, what?
What's the next step? What happened next?
I put out Auto Augmentation Incorporated.
No, I'm talking about your life.
Oh, my life? Yeah, more music. Put out more music.
No, specifically. So that you're just 32. You're 40 now. Mm-hmm. You start working on your music. You're not. What's going on in your life? Actually, is what I'm asking.
Well, I'm sorry. What was the question?
What's going on in your life is what I'm asking.
Right now?
No, right after that band.
I got in a relationship
Yep.
and I started attending the Art Institute. So just being a student, learning how to make music on my own, building a studio. That's basically it. Just being a independent artist as far as not putting anything out and making music and then doing my studies.
So from 32 to 40, did you put out a lot of stuff, or have you?
No, I made a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like The Good Problems is sort of a collection of the hip hop stuff that I was making in that amount of time. But yeah, I have like almost like full hard drives worth of music, or beats, or just experimental projects. But I never stopped making music. I never stopped like creating and like expanding on that. But yeah.
Is the record you put out the only thing you've kind of commercially put out since then?
The Auto Augmentation, yes.
Yeah.
But this next one is going to be an attempt at getting people's attention, and hopefully they listen. You know what I mean?
How are you going to distribute it?
Or
how are you distributing it?
My friend Sean Cleese from Insight Magazine was like, send me a copy, and Leah Manners from Hip Hop Hooray said, whenever the album's done, send her a copy and hopefully she'll play it. But not being in music for a long time, I don't really have any connections or anything like that. So I'm starting from the ground up. I tried to say, I tried to talk to a couple of artists and being like, and some of them I knew. I was like, hey, I'm putting out another record, and they're like, hey, haven't heard from you in a very long time. And I was like, yeah. And so, like even getting on stage and doing shows again is going to be a huge, thing I have to overcome. So I'm starting from ground zero at 40. Thanks for bringing it up.
So for the beats part, I've heard advice before, whether or not you think it's good advice, is to DM people like on Instagram that have kind of shows and stuff, and just offer them like free beats, and maybe they'll put it in the front of their show or something like that, and people go, well, who did that kind of beat?
There's a site called Reverb Nation that I'm on that I hit up some people on there, but mostly Facebook. I hit people up on Facebook. I haven't tried Instagram. I really haven't been in mode of trying to really book shows yet. I'm still, I actually have a third album that is, I would say a third way done, which is my non-sample based, I've written all the music. So I wrote the rhymes, and I'm making all the music and yada, yada, yada. But I always write my rhymes, but I'm really concentrating on getting that album done. I'm putting out Good Problems because I have certain fans that are really supportive and have been supportive over the years, and have been pushing me to hey dude, do it, get back out there and make the effort. So kudos to them. So this album's kind of for them.
So you said when you got into CrossFit, you were trying to get in shape, or
I was trying to play for another. I was making another like last ditch effort to play pro soccer for the San Antonio Scorpions, and I ended up injuring my back really bad to the point where it was like I couldn't really sit. So yeah, I'm trying to get back into shape.
How long ago was this?
This was, I don't remember. You went with me to the tryout. It was a while ago, man. Like I was out of commission for like 4 years. Like.
Oh, 4 years you're out of commission.
Yeah, 4 years. Like I was injured. Like what happened was I was doing squats and we were maxing out. And they tell you the technique, like keep the bar here, so if you can't do it, you can escape. But when I was in high school, they didn't teach us technique. And so in my mind, I was like, no, you got the tryout in 2 weeks. You got to commit. So I put the bar up on my neck and then came off of the rack. And the guys that were spotting me weren't paying attention. They were chatting it up. And I was like, I don't got it. I don't got it. And they didn't help me out. And I ended up going to the ground. My back was like, popped like 11 times.
Did you lawn chair like that?
I came off of the rack. I was like, I don't have it, and then the rack just went down, and I went all the way to the ground.
Right, but did you snap forward, like your hips here?
I was like kind of like I was kind of like in a S shape. I was messed up. So I got up for a split second, then I collapsed again, because they tell you like if you get hurt like that, just get up. So I got up for a split second, but I mean I still did the tryout. I was doing like they had like the electronic acupuncture, so I was doing that every week, and it was bad. Like by the time I was doing the tryout, I couldn't really move.
Were you like 30 or?
I was in my 30s, yeah.
What are the oldest players on these?
I know when I did the American Pumas thing when I was 19 or whatever, when I did that, a lot of the players were in their upper 30s. So that's why I was like, I can still do it. You know what I mean? And plus, I was a goalkeeper. Like goalkeepers, they don't retire until they're like 42, some 45, like Friedel, which was the U.S. national team goalkeeper. I think he retired when he was 42 or 45, something like that. I mean, technically, I still got a few years in me, but I mean, you can't like make it now and play top level.
Oh,
At least
right.
I don't
You have
think
to play
so.
the whole time, maybe.
Right, you can't be on musical hiatus or whatever I've been doing. So
is this a semi-pro league or pro league?
So the San Antonio Scorpions at the time was a team that was trying to get an MLS contract. So they had aspirations of being in the top flight, but they were in NAIA, I think, which would be considered, I guess, maybe second division in the U.S., something like that, second, third division. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I think it's second division, something like that.
How much do they pay?
I never got paid a dollar or dime in soccer.
Yeah.
Like when I was in 19, I wanted to keep my what my overall goal was to keep my amateur status to play on the Olympics.
Okay.
So I wanted to like get super high up and be like, oh, this guy's not even getting paid and blah blah blah. So I could be like because on the Olympics you get 3 paid professional players. So I was trying to. Anyway, think outside the box.
Hasn't that changed though? I feel like all the Olympians get paid these days, but maybe that's
not for soccer in the Olympics. Like for instance, I know the Brazilian team when Neymar won it for Brazil, he was one of the 3 players on the team that had the ability of. I mean, he got paid. Like so, everybody else was amateurs.
Well, it taught to me because baseball's pro players now, and of course NBA's been pro players for.
Oh yeah, Dream Team, yeah. It's a little bit different for soccer, I think.
So you want to describe your current album to me?
The Good Problems album.
Is that the one you're
the one that I'm
right now?
I'm putting it out in February. It's like it's a lot different than Odd Augmentation in the fact that the beats sound different because Cell didn't do these. So it's a lot more chill. It's more relaxation, hip hop, more lo-fi, down tempo kind of stuff. But still lyrical, not not crazy like Revolution was on Odd Augmentation or anything like that. But
Can you describe your rap style?
My rap style is like I started rapping in. I did my first show in '93 at the Victory Grill. So definitely hip hop. I'm from the era of trying to be original, trying to push the envelope as far as lyrics. So I'm not trying to sound like anybody else. But some people put you in a box now. It's like, oh, you're old school. So, I mean, if you were to put me in a box, it would be like old school hip hop.
Okay.
But I mean, lyrical, conscious, intellectual, eclectic.
What do you want to tell people about life advice or pursuing your dreams or what you're doing? Yeah.
So one thing that people, if you can envision it, it's possible. Like I found myself blessed in a lot of situations. Things that I really thought were far-fetched. I wasn't able to reach the mountaintop in some situations because I didn't really think it was possible. But anything that you want to accomplish is pretty much possible. Like when you get there, it may not be exactly, you won't maybe have the emotional context when you get to the mountaintop, but it's a lot of work. If you're willing to put in the work, you can do it. So it's definitely very humbling. I've tried to let people know that, that whatever you want to achieve, it's possible. Me, I'm a Christian, so I used a lot of prayer. I don't think I would have gotten where I did as far as soccer without prayer, focus, hard work, diligence. And more importantly, a lot of people put in a lot of work to get me to where I was. Like my mom spent hours and hours and hours, driving me to different cities. She made the decision to let the lights be cut off to get us to soccer tournaments. So if you do get to a certain place, it's very important for you to give back because you don't know what that is going to be able to do for somebody else. You know what I mean? So give back when you can. Be humble. If you can envision it, you can achieve it. Just be mentally strong and stay focused.
Transmission live over this beat called Decadence. Catching the vibe and completing all relevance. Chopping up the record, synchronized in a drum machine. Feeling damn good, pen and pad for the rhyming spree. Do it for the love, that's how I show my spirit. One day mic in hand, hoping people hear it. Spinning vinyl plates in the late morning hours. Pen and pad to state the problems that may tower. Hip hop to the bone, and the poems are wrote illegibly. The beats back by tape as the spools move steadily. Just like the globe and the conscience of the people. Things come to an end like the stylus of the needle. I don't stop. Some people tend to ask me why. I don't stop, I let the rhyme stack to the sky. Some people get distracted by the decadence. Lost souls caught up in their own relevance. I don't stop. Some people tend to ask me why. I don't stop, I let the rhyme stack to the sky. Some people get distracted by the decadence. Lost souls caught up in their own relevance. With this verbiage, just I hope the crowds gravitate. And with this blessing and this message, take it state to state. Top class, and I hope that I resist the hate. Make cash that enhance the vinyl crates. Indie rapping in this chapter, in this time and place. For no laughter in this rapture, please provide some space. MPC, dusty records to a 4-track tape. To the dark, keep it raw when I demonstrate. Dope and dapper as I chatter and I levitate. No stagnant matter on record platters, I motivate. Hence a class during this class, yes I must give thanks. Peace of those, not the foes that helped with good taste.
Now, who do you think would do?
I don't stop. Some people tend to ask me why. I don't stop, I let the rhyme stack to the sky. Some people get distracted by the decadence. Lost souls caught up in their own relevance. I don't stop. Some people tend to ask me why. I don't stop, I let the rhyme stack to the sky. Some people get distracted by the decadence. Lost souls caught up in their own relevance.
Rhymes.
I don't stop. Some people tend to ask me why. I don't stop, I let the rhyme stack to the sky. Some people get distracted by the decadence. Lost souls caught up in their own relevance. I don't stop. Some people tend to ask me why. I don't stop, I let the rhyme stack to the sky. Some people get distracted by the decadence. Lost souls caught up in their own relevance.
Rhymes.